A new timeline on the final votes and passing of this massive stimulus package that could contain a fourth stimulus check. Let's get into it and discuss the new timeline. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video, as I'm back each and every day in videos just like this one to bring you all of the latest updates and to help you out in any way that I can through this time, and ultimately make sure that you're getting all of the money and benefits that you are eligible to receive during this time. So thank you so much for your support. Again, subscribe down below and feel free to share this video or any others here on the channel with your friends, family, and social media. Thank you. I truly appreciate it, and I'll be here for you every single day, no matter what. All right, let's get into it and discuss the new timeline on the final votes and passing of this massive stimulus package that could contain that fourth stimulus check. All right, so as we know, we have this massive $3.5 trillion stimulus package that's still hanging around that we've been talking about for a couple months now, right? Man, at what point are we going to finally get a final pass on this thing? And at what point is it actually going to be pushed through? And at what point will we maybe receive a fourth stimulus check? So many big questions. A lot of people down in the comments section have been asking me for a further updated timeline on this, so I want to lay it all out for you right now and let you know where we currently stand and what's going on this week, right? So very important stuff coming out here, and we need to talk through this. All right, so as all of us know, because we've been talking about this for a while now, we were supposed to be getting a final vote and pass on this massive stimulus package this week. Well, no surprise, as we all recognize with Congress, we are getting so many delays right now, and once again, it looks like we're probably going to be getting a delay once again on this massive stimulus package until possibly sometime later this week at the absolute earliest, according to what it is looking like with all of the sources that I look at. So, with that being said, at some point later this week, we could actually get a final vote and pass on this thing. But again, everything is still up in the air right now. We don't know exactly. But the main question coming down on all of this that many of you down in the comments section have been asking me is, if this next stimulus package, this $3.5 trillion stimulus package, the reconciliation bill, right? It has a few different names. If this actually does get passed this week in its entirety, right? It gets passed this week. At what point could we see a fourth stimulus check? Of course, if it does happen to be included into this package. Now, before we get into that, I just want to say one more time so that there's no confusion, there's no misinformation. I need just to reiterate this whole thing. At the current moment, right now, there is not a fourth stimulus check added into the package. So, I just wanted to make that very clear. However, as we've noticed in previous stimulus packages, a lot of times some of the best provisions that come out of these packages are actually added in literally days before they are passed. So we could be right down to the wire here, and this is where things typically get really, really good when it comes to these stimulus packages, because it's like a last-ditch effort, right? Everybody comes out and they're basically like, hey, this is what we need and we have to get it in, otherwise we're not voting, right? So then they add all these different provisions into the package. So even though it's not there now, I would still say don't worry about it, because they can still add a lot of things into these packages, and a lot of times the best provisions come in literally just a day or two before it is actually passed. All right, so with that being said, now that we're all under the same understanding, let's get into it and talk about it. So, if they do actually come out and pass this massive $3.5 trillion package this week in the House, then we know it goes on to the Senate. The Senate would then be kind of a big hurdle, right? We do know that the Senate is completely divided 50-50, 50 Republicans, 50 Democrats, and this is a reconciliation bill. We already know that all Republicans will vote against it. That's no surprise. We already know this. That's why it's a reconciliation bill, because it only needs Democratic support. So, provided it goes to the Senate and all Democrats vote for it, even the moderate Democrats who are having reservations on this thing right now, if they all come out and vote in favor of it, then it gets the tie-breaking vote from the vice president, which gives them 51 votes, ultimately advancing it to the president for a signature, right? So, provided all of that actually happens and a fourth stimulus check is added into the package, some of you have been asking, if all of those things happen, at what point could we see a fourth stimulus check delivered? Now again, I just want to make it very clear, This is only and only if all of this happens, as in a fourth stimulus check is added into the package and it is actually passed through the House, through the Senate, and signed by the president. When could we see the delivery of a fourth stimulus check, okay? So as you can see here, we have a lot of hurdles to get over, but in all of these perfect situations, if this actually plays out in this actual way, when could we see a delivery of our fourth stimulus check? Now, okay, so I just want to make it all very clear so that nobody says, you said, you promised. I'm not promising anything. I'm just basically laying it all out because this is what people have been asking me. We could see potential delivery of a fourth stimulus check in probably about the third or so week of October if all of these things actually do come true and all of this does happen essentially this week, right? So as you can tell, it would be a very, very busy week. We would have a ton ahead of us. They would have to get a lot done this week. But as we've seen in previous stimulus packages, if they want to get something done quickly, they actually do have the authority and the ability to actually get these packages pushed through very fast. We've seen it happen before. And when they set their mind to something and they actually want to get it done, they actually can get it done relatively quickly. But a lot of times, as we know, they don't necessarily work all that fast, right? It's almost kind of rare for Congress to work that quickly. But if they just so desired to do so, they could get it done, right? So then it comes back to the question, and I want to reiterate again that if all of this does come true and all of this is passed and a fourth stimulus check is added in, we could potentially start seeing the first deliveries of those payments in probably about the third or so week in October, provided all of this plays out exactly as we have outlined, right? So as we know, there's a lot that we would need to actually get in line first before we can actually anticipate any delivery of any payments, right? But I wanted to lay this out because many of you have been asking me, when could we potentially see the delivery, right? But again, if any of these things do not come true, as in maybe some moderate Democrats in the Senate have reservations and say, I'm not voting for it, they would need to go back to the drawing board and renegotiate. If for some reason it doesn't pass the House, again, we would need to renegotiate with the progressives and the moderates right there in the House. If they don't add a fourth stimulus check, I mean, that's a huge problem, right? You can't have a delivery of a payment if they don't add it in. So then again, that kind of derails the whole timeline and everything like that as far as potential delivery. As you can see, there's a ton of moving parts right now. It's like a gearbox, right? It's like I don't know. I honestly don't know anything about engines, but I'm basically just saying like it's like an engine. You got to have the belts running all the same. You got to have the timing of the gears and all the belts and the chains and all the other stuff that goes on in there. I don't even know if there's chains in an engine, but I'm just saying you kind of get what I'm saying. You got to have everything that's working synergistically all together, simultaneously working together very well at the same time for all of this to come together. So as you can see, it is a very intricate machine that's working. And one little slip up on anything could derail the whole thing and possibly delay it and or just tank the whole bill, right? I mean, we've seen people out there right now, like the progressives, who are basically saying, give us what we are demanding, otherwise we're just going to tank the whole thing. So, yeah, and then on the other hand, you got the moderates who are basically coming out saying, this is way too big. If we go this big, we're not voting for it as well. So on both sides, we have Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer who really need to thread the needle when it comes to this reconciliation bill, right? They have a big kind of task ahead of them. How they're going to pull this off, I'm not really sure because they have people on opposite sides of the spectrum demanding two completely separate things, and they really need to thread the needle with this. So yeah, it's a big task. I would not want to be either of those people right now. I would not want to be in Congress at all right now. If I were any of those people, it's kind of a tough situation. But based on the questions I've been getting down in the comments section, I wanted to lay it all out for you in this timeline video and just let you know this is kind of what we're looking at this week. Of course, things will probably change as they always do. We always kind of look at the week early on in the week and say, this is what we're expecting this week. And then, of course, by the end of the week or the middle of the week even, we already see changes to the timeline. So this could easily change. But based on those of you that have been asking me, this is kind of the timeline we're looking at as far as a final pass, potentially going through the Senate, going to the president, signature, and then potentially, if that fourth stimulus check makes its way into the bill, we could see delivery in maybe like the third week or so of October. But again, We need to watch all this very closely. As we get further information, don't worry, I'll be right here for you. I'll lay it all out. I will answer all your questions, do whatever I can to possibly help you in any way I can. And ultimately, if that payment does arrive in there, don't worry, I will be your one-stop shop, as I always am, and your one advocate. I'll be your one and only advocate right here, making sure that you get all that money as quickly as you possibly can. That is my commitment here, and I want to make sure that you are getting as much money as quickly as possible, right? So I'm here for you. I'll help you out in any way I can. Subscribe down below so you don't miss any of my videos going forward. As I'm here for you, I do tons of research on this. I boil it all down into these short videos and help you out in any way I can. So thank you so much for your support. I truly do appreciate it. Enjoy your day, and I hope this helps out to answer some of the questions that I've been receiving down below, and I'll be back later with another video. I'll see you again later. Enjoy and subscribe.